Derivatives trading involves substantial risk of loss and is not suitable for all investors. Past performance is not necessarily indicative of future results.
So stressful when the world's on fire. Good God. I can't look at this, guys. Like, my strategy is you buy it and you hope that you got a good spot. Yeah, but we all think you're crazy. You don't fight this. No way. The markets are freaking out and you don't think that anything is wrong? Come back tomorrow and I'll lose it all. Should be fine.
Good morning, everybody. Well, obviously, some stuff happened this weekend. And before I get into anything, I want to say this. Can we please be the reasoned and intelligent people on this particular event that has happened? I have never seen in my life anything even close to the amount of bad takes I have seen over the past 2 days on the attempted assassination attempt on Donald Trump. There is, as always, there's always people that are like experts in everything all of a sudden. I'm not an expert in Secret Service security or any of those sorts of things. We can go down through the facts. But man, so many people talking about, that they were happy that somebody tried to assassinate Donald Trump. I don't want to hear any of that. It's absolutely abhorrent. Any kind of political violence like that is unacceptable. This has been a problem this whole campaign. Like, people need to tone it down. But then also there's all this nonsense. Everybody trying to justify themselves and everything. So I'm gonna try and keep it to just the information. It would almost be something that we wouldn't have to talk about, except for the markets reacted quite strongly to it when they opened up last night. So let's come and look at what we got going on here. Okay, so the S&P, let's start with the treasuries. The treasuries gapped lower. Okay, it wasn't like a huge gap lower, but the market pretty firmly believes that Donald Trump being president is a sell treasuries. Okay, I kind of feel like that whatever impacts he could have should already be priced in, but obviously there are some fund managers out there that do not agree. And we can talk about the reasons why Donald Trump being president is a sell treasuries after the charts a little bit. Okay, S&P 500 took a dive but has recovered, and I would say the dive here, if I skip ahead to the Japanese yen, okay, the dollar took a big hit and there was a jump into safe haven. Oh no, wait, that was last week. This is the weekend jump, dollar jumping. So kind of like safe haven play going on here in the dollar. And I think that was probably, when the dollar goes up, equities tend to go down. Here we got oil not doing anything too terribly interesting yet. Gold and silver still kind of at the higher end of a consolidation pattern. Copper, yeah, I don't know. That I do see a little bit of a downtrend there. So, and we just saw the Japanese yen. Bitcoin took a big jump because Donald Trump is seen as pro Bitcoin. So that's where we're at this morning. Let me just come in here. We don't have a whole lot for this morning, but we do have Powell speaking. Where is he speaking this morning? That's going to be after our stream. Due to speak at the Economic Club of Washington, D.C. Audience questions expected. Okay, so that is something we gotta be aware of. So let's come in and write our notes. close. We have bill auctions, Powell after session, Trump assassination attempt. Is there S's in there twice? I don't even know how to spell assassin. Okay, so what happened? What are the bad takes that I'm seeing out there? So Donald Trump had and I know most of you guys listening probably already know this, but we have to lay down like the context for like future prosperity sake, okay? Donald Trump was doing a rally in Pennsylvania. There was a man, we know his name. What is his name? Thomas Matthew Coward, something like that. I can't even remember the guy's name. That's okay. Anyways, that's not particularly important. So security, there was a major security failure, and this man was able to climb up on a roof about 150 meters away from Donald Trump and attempted to shoot him. The shooter did not account for the wind speed, and so he was a few centimeters off, and instead of hitting Trump in the head, he hit Trump in the ear. Also, Trump turned his face at the last second, and that probably saved his life. So, man, oh man, did he come close. It really is wild to think about how close he came to being assassinated. Oh man. Divine intervention. Yeah, I look at this and I'm like, everybody's gonna say that there was divine intervention. But then I'm kind of like, yeah, but if it was like divine intervention, why didn't they like prevent the guy from getting on the roof and doing all of these things? Well, I mean, I'm not God, so I guess I couldn't possibly fathom what reasons he might have for doing things in the way that he does them. But then I'm like, but if it was Donald Trump would totally do it that way. So maybe Donald Trump is God. Then is he the God Emperor? I mean, it fits. I can't come up with a better explanation. I digress. The narratives that you were seeing after this are pretty wild. The worst take that I saw was that Donald Trump staged this. No way. Like, the risk taking a shot like that at that distance is like, so you don't do that, because it would be way too risky. The chances of you dying are like way too, it's just the whole idea is just ridiculous. And this comes back to the whole conspiracy theory thing. Remember, conspiracy theories are a reaction to people feeling powerless or losing. All right, it's never the winners spouting the conspiracy theory, guys. It's always the people that feel that they are downtrodden, that they are repressed, that their side has been the losing side. Always. I mean, the whole thing is there's a conspiracy that people in power are doing these things to keep power, right? So Democrats immediately went into the conspiracy theories. It was pretty funny. And that's one of the things where I say, like, that's a bad take. There was also many people, most prominently YouTube streamer Destiny, that was celebrating. In fact, Destiny basically, there was one of his viewers that said, I need to peace out because for a little while, because like my friend's mom was there on the stands and she was very traumatized by it. And Destiny said, fuck you and fuck your mom. That is absolutely abhorrent. Like, I was always kind of a little bit weary about that guy, but yeah, he had it was a meltdown. It really was like he's sitting there realizing that Donald Trump is going to be president, and it's really wild just watching the whole way that this thing has progressed, right? And when I say the way that this thing has progressed, I'm talking like the whole last 2 years. It's usually a pendulum swing, you know? Things kind of go a little conservative and then they go a little liberal, and it's constantly going back and forth. And when your team is starting to do really well, that's usually time to start bracing and have to play defense, because the Democrats usually come back. And it has not happened this time. And it is incredibly bizarre and really kind of throws me off balance that everything just keeps going Donald Trump's way. And it was already like he's gonna win, and then like super crazy stuff started to happen to really ensure that he's going to win. I cannot imagine. I don't know if we're past the margin of like fraud and things like that, but it really seems extremely likely that Donald Trump is going to be president. And Destiny had a complete fit and said all sorts of just really undignified things. Like, I never really liked him. I have seen a lot of his stuff on TikTok. I'll see a lot of clips on TikTok, but there's always kind of something that's like, he's trying to say stuff that you will like, but there's just something about him that's off-putting, you know? Now he's on my shit list. If I see him pop up on TikTok, I'm immediately scrolling. I'm downvoting, whatever it is. I don't think that guy deserves a public platform. But I digress. I never watched him anyways, so who cares? But there's just an example. I don't want to get too much on Destiny, but just an example of like one of the really, really bad takes that I've seen, right? Another thing that I see that I think is a bad take is pretending to be an expert on security. So clearly, if anybody ever gets through Secret Service protection to take a shot at the president, there were major failures by the Secret Service. You just can't get around that, okay? But what actually should have been done and what the details are about that, and you know, whether it was intentional or not, I can't say. I can only say like what the facts are, right? Facts are the Trump campaign had been asking for more resources for months and kept getting denied by the Department of Homeland Security. A lot of the people that were there were not part of his regular Secret Service detail. There were a lot of local cops and so forth involved in the security. That avenue of attack was identified as a risk, but nothing was done. And yeah, Democrats tried to strip him of Secret Service protection. There was like a bill in Congress to try and strip him of Secret Service protection, which is totally like, oh my gosh, right? And and the shooter, the people saw the shooter climbing up on there for like 3 minutes before it happened, like warning them. So I'm really surprised. And in fact, it sounds like that the sniper knew that something was going on. He was looking in that direction. I don't know if he didn't know where the guy was because he was below, you know, they didn't have a very good view at him because it was over the roof, like the peak of the roof. There's also a tree in the way. So, but I have seen reports, and I can't verify this. I have seen reports that the guy had him in his scopes and was told not to do anything. And how that was allowed to happen and they don't take Trump off stage is just absolutely insane to me. Absolutely insane. But we'll see that there's a scandal there. We'll see how that comes out. We'll see how that happens. Yeah, it took 2 minutes at least from when people alerted police of the shooter and nobody called it in. Yeah, and all of the sympathy releases are BS. I don't know what you mean by that. You mean just people saying, "Oh, we're really sad this happened." Yeah. So the other thing that's going on now is that this guy was a registered Republican. Now, the assassin. Now, I don't think that means a whole lot. In Pennsylvania, there was a lot of people crossing party lines to participate in the other party's primary when they didn't have any contests in their party. The guy also made a donation to Act Blue. But there is a report out this morning from, some investigative reporting saying that his classmates all said he was staunchly conservative. In fact, they told the story that they had a debate in class and where you got to pick sides, and almost everybody in the class picked the liberal side, and he was like the only one to stay on the conservative side. And they say that their memory of him was just seeing him stand on the conservative side all by himself. So, based on that report, it does sound like that the guy was a Republican. Now, the upside of that is I think we're going to find out what the shooter's motives were. Right? I don't think they're going to hold it back like sometimes they do. We'll probably find out what the guy was thinking real quick. It seems like a lot of Democrats seem to think that this is a really critical point. Like one of the things that I saw on Reddit was like, you can't look like a martyr if it's one of your own attacking you. Then you just look like a mob boss or something like that. That just sounds like so stupid to me. I don't think that the shooter's motive, I mean, if it was Antifa, then absolutely would have helped Trump even further. But I don't think that it really blunts the sympathy, and when you see things like this happen, like that politician's favorability rating is going to skyrocket. Like it's going to be up like 20 points. It's maybe not as much in Trump's case, but that's how much it was like for Reagan, for instance. The thing is that the Democrats, and Joe Biden in particular, chose to run on a campaign of Donald Trump is so evil. Remember when the campaign started, I noted this and I was very disappointed that Joe Biden decided to run on the platform of, Trump is a Nazi sort of a thing, basically, and really turned the heat up. And so whether he was a Republican or not, like the mentally ill people in this country are influenced by that sort of a thing. And yes, it does make assassination attempt more likely. And I dare say that I don't think it's over. I think that you're probably going to see other attempts. Hopefully they don't get as far, but I am super nervous about the Republican convention this week. And the crazy thing is that with all of this going on, there's still two major stories within the presidential campaign that are like unresolved and basically are put on hold. One of them is we still don't know who Donald Trump's vice presidential pick is going to be. Is it going to be J.D. Vance? Is it going to be John Burgum? We don't know. We don't know, and we might not find out until they announce it officially. It's just until it like happens at the convention. It's super crazy, but just the news cycle has not provided the Republicans an open space to make that announcement. Like that would be something that you do when like the narrative isn't going very well in your favor and everything, and then you can kind of use that to turn things back positive. But they haven't needed to do that, and they haven't announced. Then the other thing is that there's still this whole Joe Biden totally flubbed the debates, and a lot of Democrats were planning on coming out in opposition of the president running and calling for the president to step down and end his campaign essentially. And well, they're not doing it now. They may still think that Joe Biden needs to step down, but because of the news cycle and everything else, they're not saying anything. So it would be kind of hilarious. It would be kind of hilarious if the the assassination attempt on Donald Trump led to Joe Biden being able to keep his campaign, that would be incredibly ironic. But that may actually be the case right now. I don't know. Weren't they saying if Trump died, then Nikki Haley would have been the candidate? I don't think so. I think that if he had died, that it would either be his VP pick. I don't know. We wouldn't necessarily know who his VP pick would be, would we? But it would probably be Ron DeSantis. It would almost certainly be Ron DeSantis. I think that Nikki Haley in particular burned a lot of bridges with her campaign. A lot of bridges with her campaign. I don't think that she's that popular among Republicans anymore. And, I would hope that they would have like a redo. That would be great. That would be great to say, hey, both parties, we're going to completely scrub everything, start over from scratch, new nominees, right? Under those circumstances, though, I don't think Haley would win. So. Now, I had mentioned that the market seems to think that Donald Trump winning the election is a sell the treasuries. I think that is correct. I think that the amount of selling that we've been seeing off of these sorts of headlines and stuff is a little bit extreme and so forth. And I think that some people may be taking it off of a theory that is kind of stupid. But in general, I do think that Donald Trump is a sell the treasuries event. Why is that? So first of all, I think that the primary theory on which people are probably selling it is that Donald Trump has been pushing a sort of populist, let's put tariffs on everything, and the government can make all of its money from tariffs. Okay, that's not that's the way that it used to be, but that was before like World War II and some of the other things that we have budgets for. You wouldn't be able to cover the costs of the government just through tariffs now. So, and tariffs overall tend to increase prices on things. So, tariff policy would be inflationary. Now, I think that there is almost zero chance that such tariffs get implemented, only in as much as fight against China and that sort of a thing. But Congress isn't going to pass tariffs, right? So, I think that there's a limit to that. And I also think that Donald Trump is going to be super aware and hyper conscious about the effect that he's having on prices and so forth. So he is not going to do something like that unless, the economy is already going pretty well and maybe we need the inflation a little bit, right? Kind of like last time, right? He's not going to pick that fight with China unless the economy is already going well. He's not going to do it like right now would be a terrible time to do it. Oh yes, let's guarantee that a recession happens. Okay. A second thing though is that I think that Republicans overall tend to be more hawkish monetarily. And the market will probably view Donald Trump winning as a positive for markets overall. And so that's going to mean less chance of a recession or more shallow of a dip. So I do think that it is a sell the treasuries event anyways, despite the first reason for it being a sell the treasuries being kind of silly, I think. Okay, so just keep that in mind. Anytime that we see headlines based off of this, and this is going to be going on up until the election, you're going to see kind of really impulsive moves by the markets off of this. I don't think that the future orders, I think that it's this is a case of it moves because people think that other people are going to move based off of it, but I don't think that it actually has a significant economic impact. So that's kind of funny. Don't you find it strange that a 20-year-old boy without... Well, of course I find it strange, but look, I'm not an expert on this issue, and I don't know all of the details about everything that was going on, the security measures in place, and so forth. And I want to keep it to the facts. I don't have, like, the fact of the matter is that I don't have to say anything about it, right? I think that's one of the mistakes that we often make. Is it's like, okay, maybe there was malice there. Like maybe the Secret Service was intentionally underfunded and all of these sorts of things to increase the chances of an assassination happening. Maybe there was a full-on conspiracy theory to, you know, that they knew that this guy was going to do that and they intentionally lapsed security. I don't have to say that. Well, like, if that was the case, it's going to come out. People feel like you have this need to talk about it, like this is a big deal sort of a thing, and I need to be yapping about it on social media sort of a thing. I don't, because if that was, like, we're going to find out what happened. This is such a big issue. It's the security lapse itself is a big scandal. So let's just stick to the facts that we know and let it work itself out. You know, us talking about it is not going to change anything, right? And what are we here for? We are here to trade. And so I am only here to relate the facts as they are relevant to us in the markets and to understand what's going on. Now the political implications of it is important for us. We have to understand politics. And that's one of I will talk about politics a lot because that's one of my strengths. I understand the political sphere in the United States very well compared to most people because I've lived in it. I've been a political geek since I was a little kid, since I was in elementary school. And it does have a significant impact on markets, but I don't have to, you know, drive into the conspiracy theories to call attention to it to make sure that something happens about it or that we discover the truth or something. It's not necessary. It's not necessary. And that's where I was coming back to, like, let's be really careful about what we say, because something about this just is triggering the stupidest responses from people. I've seen people say really dumb things that I think they're going to regret in the future. And so let's be careful and make sure that we aren't one of those people that make that mistake. Let's be conscious about where things lie. Like to be honest with you, okay, like, people have reactions to these that are not rational. It's just like human nature. To me, I can absolutely feel in myself that this makes me want to vote for Donald Trump more. It makes me want to be more overt of a Donald Trump supporter, even though I'm kind of like, you know, well, listen, he's not necessarily my first pick, and I'm kind of just like, well, you know, it's not my choice, so we just go along with what it is. I'm still a Republican. I think that he's an acceptable Republican nominee. Not my favorite, but he's the guy he goes with, and I'll support him as the Republican nominee. Right? But seeing this makes me want to be more staunch of a supporter. And I can see that just as okay, this is the way that I react to this sort of event. I can see the irrational behavior coming out. Like, does an attack on his life make President Trump a better candidate? I don't think that it does. Like, logically, it doesn't. So why should my support for him change? It shouldn't. But we are prone to certain irrational reactions to it. And the reaction that I get is to be more supportive. We all have biases like that. And now is a really great time to ask yourself, how do I react to those sorts of things? Here's a good time to learn a little about yourself. I think that there's a lot of people out there that are just not being very self-aware about this sort of, you know, like we were talking about Destiny. He's not being very self-aware on this thing because he was throwing a fit. He was throwing a fit. He probably still thinks really highly of himself, but I don't think he should. I think it's a little Man, like, have some self-respect, dude. A $4 trillion government barely has enough money for adequate security. Okay, well, no. But the only so much funding is going into the Secret Service, and apparently they think that because he's not the nominee yet, that we don't have to give him a full Secret Service detail or something. It's 100% been the decision of Mayorkas. It's the person that's in charge of the Department of Homeland Security. He can justify it. But like here again, I don't have to, all I have to say is the fact. The fact is that they've requested more security and Mayorkas has denied it multiple times. That's all the information that you guys need to be able to decide what you think is going on. 12 hours ago, it was reported that the FBI can't get into the dude's cell phone. Really? Well, that should be no problem because, I bet you there's a 50% chance that the guy was using AT&T as a cell phone carrier, and all texts and calls from AT&T got leaked last week, so just go to the hackers. Okay, now if there is anywhere that there is place for some speculation, it is in what the guy's motivations were. Unfortunately for Republicans, like as a Republican, I don't necessarily want to discuss the possibility that he was a Republican, but from the information that I have, it is actually a very strong possibility that he was a Republican. Some people are saying, well, the top Democrat theory, it's such a comforting lie to believe that a mere security oversight could be so incredibly blatant, right? Like I said, I don't have to imply anything, right? Like, I can give you the facts. It's kind of funny. Like in all honesty, I think that I don't think that it was like a conspiracy, like that they knew that the shooter was coming and it was all planned. But I do think that they intentionally left Trump's security lax, and that there were people in Washington that were hoping that somebody will assassinate Donald Trump. It's 100% a thing. 100% a thing. But like, as it relates to this particular incident, again, like, do I have to say anything? The facts speak for themselves, and I don't see how anybody sees those facts and doesn't come to the same conclusion, right? So why stray beyond the facts to the speculation part? I mean, because everybody else will say it for me. Yeah, I don't think they planned it themselves, but I bet they were hoping. 100%. And again, and I could be, again, I don't say this lightly. I would expect there to be further attempts. I would expect there to be further attempts. I'm really nervous about this convention. Let's hope that everything goes well. Okay. What was I going to talk about? Oh yeah, the shooter himself. One of the theories out there was that he shot Trump because he thought Trump was a pedophile, and Trump said to shoot pedophiles. So that's the theory that Reddit is going with. That sounds pretty ridiculous to me, but it's I can't rule it out. It is a possibility. I mean, who knows? The guy was clearly not all there. People said that he was bullied relentlessly as a child. It was, yeah. Biden talks about Target. So like, the thing is that Democrats are really, really focused. You'll notice, you go out, like, you want to know how biased or unbiased is the news sources that you're reading. Do they mention that the shooter was a Republican? Because a lot of the headlines that you're seeing, Trump, attempted assassination attempt on Trump by former Republican supporter or something like that. Like those are some of the headlines that I'm seeing pop out. They think that, oh, well, if it wasn't a Democrat, then that means that it was all okay or something like that. Like it shouldn't help Donald Trump if it was a Republican, if it was one of his own. I don't think it does. Because the fact is that the Democrat Party and Joe Biden in particular have chosen to run one of the nastiest campaigns in history. It's not just like this is a guy of ill repute and all of, but literally calling him Hitler. And the calls on the left for, oh, I hope that somebody offs him. There have been so many people that have been saying this sort of a thing. Yeah, try and hide it now. But we all know, everybody knows that the Democrat Party has been turning it up and turning it up and turning it up. And now you're seeing people respond to it. And this is what happens. This is why it's so irresponsible to say things like that. And I think that responsibility lies almost exclusively on the Democrat side. So don't, like, there's all these things, like, I'm seeing these people say, like, I really hope that the Republicans take this chance at the convention to try and tone down the rhetoric and cool things off and so forth. We're not the problem here, man. It is the Democrats are the ones that are saying that, fascism is going to take over the United States and we need to do everything possible to stop it, right? It's absolutely ridiculous. And I think now, after this has happened, just kind of looking around at how people are reacting to it and stuff, I have, certain groups of people that I watch on social media that are open enough and talking about what they're thinking and so forth. So, I have people that are far liberals and moderates and conservatives to try and gauge what people are thinking. These are like my case studies, right? And my feeling so far from what I'm looking at is that the moderates see it, and that you will continue to see moderates move towards Trump. Simply because, primarily because Biden's been so nasty. Like, I honestly think that if Biden had chosen to run a more civil campaign, one that was respectful to his opponent, that he would be doing better. I really do. I don't care about much beyond the fact that a rooftop less than 300, it was 150 yards, 300 feet. Is it 300 feet? No, but it was 150 yards. From the Trump in an area with like 6 rooftops total was left unsecured. Yeah. I mean, well, again, you think Biden thinks that way? Well, okay, so are you saying Biden just hates Trump and he can't see beyond that? And he's not saying, oh, should I choose to be nasty to my opponent or not? He doesn't think that way. It's just reflexive for him. That may be true. That may be true. But if I was a political consultant within the campaign, I would be telling them, like, listen, you always attack your opponent. Negative campaigning works and is very effective, but there is a limit. There is a line at which you cross where it can really rebound on you and it can be very bad. And trying to base your entire campaign basically on Donald Trump is evil is a really poor campaign strategy that's likely to backfire on you, especially going against Trump. But maybe somebody said that and he ignored them. I don't know. But it's all on him, right? It's all on him. I don't think Biden is aware of much of what's happening around him. That might be. Like, you going back to the debate, the only thing that Biden ever really got animated about, because at the beginning it was like he was whispering and stuff. But then when they start talking about Charlottesville and how Trump is evil, then all of a sudden Biden's wide awake, right? Because it seems to me that Joe Biden has Donald Trump syndrome, whatever you call it. What is it? TDS. What does the T stand Oh, derangement. Trump deranged. He has Trump derangement syndrome. Yes, he does. I think so. I really mean that. I'm not being funny. I don't get the impression that he's steering the ship. I think a vast network of security state professionals, bureaucrats, and activist staffers are. Well, I mean, to some extent, those are always there anyways, right? It's kind of funny how there was this time. I think I'm allowed to talk about it now, but there was this time where they denied that the deep state exists. It exists. There are people that are career government workers that have impacts on policy. You can see it just with COVID, for instance, with Birx. Birx intentionally undermined the administration's policies that they wanted on COVID. He'd say, I want this and this, and then she'd be like, okay, and then she would go and do the opposite. And she knew how to play the bureaucracy so that they couldn't really see what was actually going on. And that's like documented fact now. So is there a deep state? Yes, there is a deep state. Though what the deep state is maybe is up for a little bit of argument. Like it's not like it's not like a cult that's doing rituals in the basement and is sworn to, it's not quite like that. But yes, is there a group of people that are career bureaucrats that have certain ideological leanings that work towards certain ends, work towards certain ends with whatever means are available to them in their position, and will work against the president and the policy that the people have decided on? Yes, there are. Without question. It is a fact. Yeah. Small pockets of actors in a giant ocean of government bloat? Yes. But this is where, I think one of the places where I come down on issues differently from, at the very least, a lot of other conservatives and Republicans is that I, at its base level, feel very strongly, feel very confident about the American system. And that while we will have all sorts of drama and flubs and mistakes along the way, that in the end, the American system will be enduring. All of these people saying like, oh, the American empire is coming to an end and we're going to fall just like Rome. And well, okay, like Rome fell. There's lessons to learn from that. We should be cautious. We should always be cognizant, aware of those problems and avoid them. But I ultimately think that we as Americans will avoid them and be successful. And I will point to that things are actually going in the right way. Like when we have problems like that, because of the way that the American system works, eventually it has to work itself out. The administrative state has been dealt a serious blow with the what do we say? Rejection of the Chevron doctrine in the Supreme Court, which means that all of these government bureaucrats have a lot less power. It used to be that depending on who was running the agency and who the president was, the rules could end up being completely different. And that could be either really beneficial to your business or it could completely destroy your business. And that is now going the other direction. And, if there are laws where Congress needs to protect the environment or like they may have to pass more laws. They may have to be more intentional about what the law is in some instances. But it won't just be this, well, we can interpret it differently every administration. That's changing. And so that administrative state has a lot less power. Right? Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, is it possible? I guess when we say Rome fell, because I don't think that you could have like a complete collapse of the United States in the same way that you had a complete collapse in Rome. You know, like a situation where like the United States fractures into multiple countries, I don't really think is very realistic. But where I would be concerned is some sort of takeover, like one where you completely rewrite the Constitution, or at least there's enough amendments that come in that it's like a completely different country that we don't recognize anymore. I don't think that that's ever going to happen. What is the reason that such a leading country in the world has such poor candidates and none of the available people could possibly become new president? Well, so there's 3 reasons. The first reason is that anybody that's really truly a good person is going to avoid politics, because you get destroyed in politics. So it really takes somebody that's really narcissistic and cares primarily about power and nothing else to go and do it. Because if you cared about your family, if you cared about anything else, your reputation, you wouldn't go into politics. So that's one side of it. A second side of it is that this system kind of is set up to be where the people with the most political power are the people that have been around the longest and have the most name recognition. But then I think the third thing is that there's propaganda. The propaganda is for you to hate the candidates. So it's not necessarily the case that all of the candidates that are available to you are absolutely terrible and awful people. It's just that everything that you're told is supposed to lead you to that conclusion. So it's not as bad as it may actually seem. We could look back now, like most Republicans will look back now and say, oh, Ronald Reagan was such a great president. But at the time, during the election, there was people that were saying, why are we stuck with these 2 terrible choices? An actor, you know. The reality is not as bad as you think it is, because all of the media is there to try and make you think poorly of the other side's candidate. I guess point number 4 is that all people suck. You got to understand this. All people suck on some level. So you can't have a perfect president. They're humans. Yeah. There's something I don't like about every politician. Maybe someday Christ himself will come again and rule on the earth. But until that day, we have to be led by people, and people suck. So, oh man, this is going to be such an interesting week, don't you think? Well, by the way, over the last hour or so, we are seeing a gentle meta order long. My flows and everything does not give me any reason to expect a meta order, so I will, just be sitting here. But we did see something. Probably could have taken a trade like right when we got in here at 29.5, potentially. But we didn't have any reason to expect that order, so we'll see if it continues. It is accelerating a little bit here at 02. So that is a little bit of a reason for me to be cautious. Like I'm if I wanted to get in on the meta order, I would be saying I can't get in here because I'm seeing the volume accelerate. That's the sort of thing that tends to create a liquidity hole, if not flip things around. Just keep that in mind. Also, it doesn't take a whole lot because the change in cumulative delta is not a ton. Only 10K over the whole period. 10K in an hour is not a whole lot. Bonds up, stocks down. Well, I think that you're going to continue to see this rotation thing where people are rotating out of tech stocks and into small caps. That doesn't necessarily mean like outright S&P 500 down, but it is a little bit of a drag on the S&P 500, let's say. Kind of what I'm seeing over there. Well, so that I was able to go through that whole hour. MSNBC yanks Morning Joe reportedly on fears of inappropriate Trump shooting commentary. They don't think their leftist hosts can control themselves. What? We will. Joe Biden made another gaffe. We'll settle our differences at the battle box. The ballot box. The ballot. Oh my gosh. But Joe. I was just about to say when you know it's your fault, but you don't want people to notice. He said battle box twice. Man. He's made so many, like, the thing, again, it's like it just keeps getting worse, right? Like, the gaffes that Biden's making are just, like, get worse and worse and more funny. Was that a speech last night or this morning? Oh, I totally forgot that we got some bank earnings. Let's go and see. Goldman reporting this morning. Could be sad if he wasn't. Yeah. Totally. Okay. Goldman. Ooh. Well, it's definitely been moving in the last little bit. So there looks like that there was an initial pop, and then there was an initial pop because the headline earnings numbers were good. There was then a sell-off, and then it reverted back to its opening basically right where it started. So we'll probably have to see how it trades throughout the day to see what we really got. But the headline is net income surges 150% as investment banking misses and credit loss provisions slide. So let's just say I will read that on my own later. I don't think you guys want to hear about that right now. Let's read the MSNBC story. MSNBC has taken its celebrated Morning Joe off air on Monday, reportedly on fears that their well-known leftist hosts would say the wrong thing or something deeply insensitive about the Saturday Trump assassination attempt, which could leave the network in a bind. The show is missing in action on this crucial day of the Republican National Convention in Milwaukee. Yes, because the convention starts today and it goes all week. The Progressive News Network confirmed the decision to preempt its influential and top-rated morning show after a CNN inquiry Sunday evening confirms the network said the show will resume airing Tuesday. Wow. As speculation abounds, and some try to dubiously claim that it's normal for Morning Joe to not air during major political news event, NBC issued the following statement. Given the gravity and complexity of this unfolding story, NBC News Now, and MSNBC have remained in rolling breaking news coverage since Saturday evening. As we continue to cover this story in the week, the networks will continue to cross simulcast, alternating, blah, 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 blah. CNN then admitted the following based on one of its sources. A person familiar with the matter told CNN that the decision was made to avoid a scenario in which one of the show's stable of 24+ guests might make an inappropriate comment on live television that could be used to assail the program and network as a whole. Laura Loomer said, let's be honest, the rhetoric from MSNBC, CNN, Washington Post, New York Times, and Joe Biden is a contributing factor to why Trump almost had a bullet in his skull this week. They have been inciting violence against Trump for years, calling him Hitler, saying he's a dictator, and a threat to democracy. The shooter was probably even a Morning Joe viewer. I'd be willing to take that bet. Okay, Laura, chill out a little bit. I don't know if I'm actually think that he probably wasn't, but she's right that they were inciting violence against Trump this whole time. Yes. The news that Nikki Haley is now invited to speak at the RNC broke on July 13th at 5:42 p.m. Donald Trump was shot at his rally at 6:11 on July 13th. Well, that sounds like just a coincidence to me. Meanwhile, this kind of scrambling to rein in the narrative is on display at a number of other outlets too, Glenn Greenwald points out. This is the magazine that published a cover story explicitly depicting Trump as Hitler, complete with a Hitler mustache, Nazi fronts, and a panel of fascism experts. Now they have to pretend to find the assassination attempt despicable. This is the New Republic. On today's episode of the Daily Blast, Garnet talks to Zach Beauchamp, an author of the book called Reactionary Sprint, about whether this despicable attempt to kill Trump will lead to an escalation, and what it says about American society is, again, at this level. Well, okay. I think that I can move past the Biden gaffe. There's not going to be a whole lot to say about that, right? The Swatch shares crash most in 4 years as profit plunge on China downturn. You know what? Like, nobody in the watch community ever talks about Swatch. Okay. Like the cheap brand that everybody likes is Casio and Seiko. Nobody talks about Swatch. Want to talk conspiracies? Let's talk about the Republican Party actually wanting to off Trump. Are there people in the Republican Party that don't want Trump? Yeah, but kind of stuck with him, I think. I mean, I think it's so funny because in fighting against him, that's what brings him to prominence. Right? Like, if everybody just shut up, you probably wouldn't have become Traders is going to be trading ES. Well, yeah, you trade ES every day. Yeah? I think that this situation really, really hard to predict orders. Right? Oh, we not having Delta behind it, but another new high there in the Treasury. Dollar seems to be coming down too. Okay. Or maybe Nikki was invited to the RNC because, like, all of the major politicians and people that ran for president tend to be invited. It's interesting that they didn't invite her and announce it until so very, very late, but I would have been super shocked if she didn't have a speaking slot at the convention. Come on. I don't know. Why was she not already invited? Well, maybe perhaps they don't announce those things until shortly before the convention for PR purposes, because they want they want to get people excited and more likely to tune in. Conspiracy brain. I mean, it is. This is the thing that's so bizarre about this situation. Like, Donald Trump is winning. Donald Trump is winning. He's extremely likely to be the next president now. And yet, we on the conservative Republican side of things are still finding ourselves going down conspiracy rabbit holes. So like, we're winning and we don't feel like we are. is what's happening on the Republican side right now. I think that it's because all of the media and all the social media is Democrat. I think that's why we feel that way. Okay, let's see here. I want to browse around and see if there's any new as senior House Democrat tells Axios, we've all resigned ourselves to a second Trump presidency. Wow. DJT is up today, is it? Oh my. Actually, that's probably a good play. Why didn't I think of that? Ooh, yeah, it's up. How much is that? Oh, let's take it to a daily so I can see. It is up 11%, 35%. Wowzer. Well, it's still like within the range. It's just kind of going towards the higher end of the range. But it's looking pretty good then, isn't it? Looking pretty good. See how far they get, I guess. Right now, they're selling off on the open. So I'll just minimize that because I don't want to come back to that. Mark my words, the attempt on the Republican candidate won't move the needle when it comes to voting. Well, that's a naive thing to say. That's just the Mark My Words subreddit that has some of like the worst takes on things all the time. It's funny to read. The problem is going to be is that you know, it's so far in the future. It'll be really difficult to sort out how much of an impact it was that versus other things. But does it move? Yes, it does move the needle. Actually, is it lasting? Yeah, maybe not. But we won't be able to really truly say. Kathy Wood tweets, before selling Nvidia, had we known that the market was going to reward it and the other Magnificent Six stocks to the exclusion of all stocks that will be the prime beneficiaries of AI, like Tesla, the largest AI on Project Earth, and the multi-monix names like RXRX, we would have held it. Yeah, okay, Kathy. If I had known the future, then I would have held it. Well, we didn't know the future. The whole point of you as a manager is to be able to predict the future. Basically. Yeah. Oh, okay. Are you admitting that basically all of the gains that you made up until now were luck? Oh, that's on the Wall Street Bet subreddit. This is going to be hilarious. What did people say? What did people say? Come here. I wish I could be this bad at my job and make as much money as she does. Oh man, that's hilarious. If you're going to go on Twitter and talk about how much you suck, you might as well join Wall Street Bets. If you screw up, own it. Don't post a butthurt tweet about it. There you go. I remember someone telling me how great of an investor she was in 2021. The same person had to admit that she was horrible after 2022. Given her apparent strategy of making concentrated investments in hyped up tech stocks, she really should have made the most of NVIDIA. Missing that opportunity really was the cherry on top. She has no idea what she is doing and never should have been taken seriously. Yeah. If I had known what stocks would have performed well, my fund would have made more money. I can't believe this is a real tweet, right? How is she still relevant? You know what? The reason she's still relevant is because it's so easy to hate her. Like, I think that she will continue to be relevant forever and ever and ever until she stops managing a fund. Because it's just, you know, people need the hate porn. Fire isn't as efficient as she is at destroying money. Yeah, here's a hate thread about Destiny. I won't bother you with it. But let me indulge for a moment. Privately. All we do is let you indulge. It's true. It's true. I am kind of sitting here wondering, like, if I wasn't so busy chatting, and you know, like really in this situation, I should be talking about the thing. I think that's the most important thing for me to do. But would I have taken that trade? But I think no, because I had no predictor of order flow there, and it's a Monday. That's another thing. It's a Monday. Like, I might go along with the flow if I see it coming in and it seems to be pretty clear and the risk reward looks good. I might get on it without completely understanding what might be driving the flow, but not on a Monday. Not on a Monday. I hate Mondays. I can't tell you how many times in the beginning part of my trading I'd get in, I'd be all excited, I'd take a trade on a Monday, and it would just go nowhere, and then that would like bleed through into the rest of my trading all week. So I do one on the Destiny thing. How much of what he says is just to increase his profile and get views and stuff? Kind of have to wonder. I wonder that about like basically all influencers now. Because it seems to me that you don't get to that level without selling your soul a little bit. Could be wrong, but it seems to me that you have to sell yourself a little bit. Maybe not sell your soul, but sell yourself a little bit, yeah. Here's another variation on that headline that I was reading earlier. Dems tell NBC the presidential contest ended last night. I don't believe any of those people are real and believe most of them have a proclivity for child predation. Who are we talking? Influencers? That you know, anytime that issue comes up, I'm just a little bit like, because the issue is that it is way more common than people realize. It is way more common than people realize. And like it is a societal issue that doesn't get as much attention as it deserves given the impact. But then on the other side, it's like, how do you talk about it? Because you talk about it too much, people start making accusations, and there's all sorts of you become too anti pedophile or whatever the deal is. You get all of the conspiracy theory people following you. It's just like, so it's probably better to just stay away from it, even though I think it's a serious problem. And right now, all I can think about with it is that Reddit. Because Donald Trump and Jeffrey Epstein were friends for a long time, for some reason they had some sort of a falling out. Trump says that he gave the police information, good information, but the left is trying to run with, oh, actually, Trump was a child molester. And in particular, I'm giving you the details. Okay, so there was before the 2016 election, there was somebody that filed a lawsuit against him, claiming that that Donald Trump raped her when she was underage. The legal contact for this complaint was somebody that is like a known hoax person. Like he worked for the Maury show as like he would set up hoaxes for the show. So it was, and then the complaint was withdrawn. They claimed because they felt that her life was in danger, but like it hadn't gone that far. It's not viewed as a credible complaint, basically. Like the media doesn't report on it because it's probably is a hoax, to be honest. But the people on Reddit don't care, right? They're just grasping at anything they can possibly find right now. And so they're all calling Trump a pedophile. and Reddit thinks that the reason that the shooter attacked Donald Trump was because the shooter thought that Donald Trump was a pedophile. And you know what? It's a possibility. Rooftop from where a gunman shot at Trump was flagged as a security risk before the... Yeah, I saw that last night, actually. No, specifically, the person that talked said that when they had a meeting 2 days before the event or something like that, they specifically flagged that rooftop and other rooftops as top security concern. So it is really weird that they did not actually secure it. Right? So I'll tell you a story. Well, not really a story, but I remember when I was in school at the University of Utah, and I believe it was President Obama was coming to the school to speak, and people talking about the security for it afterwards. If I can show you, hold on a second here. Come over here. Yeah, so at the University of Utah, over here, I can't even tell where things are. Need terrain. Show me satellite. Where is it? Satellite. There we go. Ah, okay. So over here, this is the Union Building. Where's my pen? The layout of the University of Utah. Okay, so this is the Union Building. This is where Obama was giving the speech. Maybe we just need to make it black. There we go. Here's the Union Building. And way over here, actually, I might need to zoom out a little bit more. Way over here on like the whole other side of campus. I think it's this one is the psychology building. Yeah, it's this one right here. The psychology building, which is the tallest building on campus. It looks like a freaking, oh my gosh. Let's see. Can I put the person down? Show you. It's like the most oppressive looking building, by the way. Maybe like right there. Yeah, this thing right here. It's like this brutalist building, right? Brutalist architecture. They didn't have enough money, so not all of the sections have windows on it. Okay. Complete other side of campus. Complete other side of campus. They Secret Service had to determine that this was a risk. And their solution was, in addition to having somebody on the roof monitoring it, was that the president had to sit, they had to move the podium over 5 feet so that it was behind a pillar, so that it was not visible from that building. That's just so like, I just can't fathom why they didn't have somebody on that roof. This all might show how useless the Secret Service really is. How many of these other events and situations are actually totally unsafe? Well, I think that when the Secret Service, like the Secret Service that's protecting the president, good luck getting through that. But it sounds to me like that Donald Trump is not getting a very good security detail right now. Yeah, I just saw the name of one of the guys who got shot instead of Trump, father of 2, retired fire chief. Yes, who was basically covering his wife and daughter and basically saved them. Like if it had not hit him, it might have hit his wife or his daughter. Wonder what will come of it. One of the things I saw, another take I saw on Reddit that looked really terrible to me was like, watch, Donald Trump isn't going to say anything to the other victims. Are you effing kidding me? I would be shocked if he hasn't already called them. I would rate a high probability that wife and daughter end up speaking at the convention. In all seriousness. Like, that's a political opportunity they will absolutely take advantage of. And it is a sad story. It is a sad story because he sounded like a good guy. Anyways, what were we talking about? Oh, yeah. So I just can't imagine why they said, oh, well, we'll just have counter snipers and not actually have somebody on those roofs. And somebody, like, protecting those roofs and making sure that they don't get on. Maybe they did. Maybe they said, okay, the local police will secure that building. And then, because one of the things that I've also read was that a police officer did confront the guy. That the police officer confronted the guy, and the guy pointed his gun at the officer, and so the officer backed off. If that's true, then it's really, really, like, how did that not, like, he's not on the comm and then them pulling Trump off stage at that point? Like, come on. But again, I'm not a security expert. I don't know all of the, I'm sure that there are more details to come. So let's just let the facts come as they do. Yes, and there were many people that saw the guy climbing up on there and flagged police and Secret Service, but nothing happened. Yes, correct. By the way, Treasury's reverted back through there. That was a good call. It actually was a reversal. The cumulative delta completely reversed there. That's curious. I'm sure that right now, as we speak, there are stories popping up that we just haven't heard about yet. Let me come to Reddit and look at Rising. Oh, there's neo-Nazis in downtown Nashville today. Okay. Yeah, DJT, the stock popped off. It looks like it's retracing so far, though. Here's r/politics. Trump allies bully Dems and media to shut up about his fascist plans. You've learned nothing, have you? Rolling Stone. Sick headline. There's another guy predicting a stock market crash. Nvidia will decline 92%? Okay. I'd love to see your justification for that. That could be interesting. I think you could see a decline in Nvidia, but 92% sounds a little bit silly. Yep, here's another story that I read last night. Shocking report, Secret Service resources were diverted from the Pennsylvania Trump rally to Jill Biden. That one's likely to get conservatives really, really upset because all of the headlines that we've been getting are that, like, Jill Biden is one of the primary people saying that Joe should stay in the race, and she really likes the privileges of being the first lady and everything. Whoa, that is a sick looking watch. Who is this? Doxa. Doxa watches. How much is that? That's a pretty sick looking watch, man. I've never heard of them. The sub 300T Shark Hunter Clive Glucer. No, go back. I want to see it. Back. Here. Order now. How much is it? Limited edition. So it's gonna be expensive then. It's not bad. 3,000. I don't know how I feel about that one. Is it cool enough to spend $3,000 on it? I kind of think no. What are their other watches? Let's see. I don't know if I really like the look with it being like, here's the center of it, but then there's like more on the outside. I don't like that. But the face of it is pretty sick. I really like dials that have like lots of numbers on them and stuff. R/politics Trump shooters motive is irrelevant. It's about guns. Does that mean they know something? Bill Maher says Trump shooter has done so much damage to the left. Okay. Well, it does hurt the left, yes. I don't know if he's a leftist per se, so that's kind of... Hey, is the Visual Studio getting worse? No, but it is pre-bloated. Well, I've been scrolling for a decent amount of time and I don't see... I don't really see any new headlines. Donald Trump Jr. slams media and Democrats for trying to blame both sides for assassination. Yeah. Calling out corporate media and Democrats who are equivocating and victim blaming Republicans for the assassination attempts. Hey brother, how do you scalp? Well, I think that the traditional definition of scalping is not something that is done very often by retail traders anymore, because it was really more about being that liquidity out there and trading the spread. Robots have kind of taken that job over. So as retail traders, we kind of tend to take a little bit more higher time frame trades now. For instance, I'm trying to look for information I might know about the markets that might predict future orders and like predict an imbalance before you can even see it on the chart. And in order to do that, I'm often taking a trade where I buy really close to the session start and hold it the whole session. So that's not really scalping. But even if I was like, I took one and I held it for like 5 to 30 minutes, you know, like to me, that's pretty fast trading, but it's not scalping by the traditional definition. But a lot of people will call that scalping. So just kind of realize that the retail trader's definition of scalping is kind of a little bit like, perverted, let's say. Yeah. What do you suggest for Bitcoin? What I would suggest for Bitcoin is buy and hold and don't bother day trading it. So you'll make really good money on day trading Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies when you're in a bull market, but then you just get destroyed. And I can't tell you how many people, when we had the last big cryptocurrency run, that I had talking to me and sending me messages and showing me their profits and everything. Like, they were making real money, and every single one of them disappeared when Bitcoin fell. So it's just kind of, what are things that you have that will predict future orders in cryptocurrencies? There's not a lot, because it's basically like, what are the big whales going to do? And these are all like individuals that, you know, they could be doing stuff on a whim. So that's why I say it's really not worth it to day trade cryptocurrencies. If you really want to get involved in cryptocurrencies, buy and hold. And don't invest with money that you can't afford to 100% lose in Bitcoin. Because, you know, in equities, you lose like 10%, 10, 20%. That's a big loss. But in cryptocurrencies, you're going to lose 50, 60, 70, 80%. Wow. So here's another like super bad take. I'm saying I'm not even going to read that. I'm not even going to dignify that. This is a bad take from Douglas Orr, Democrat mayor of Aberdeen, Washington. So you can go and read it if you really want. But that's a shameful response. Yeah, lots of stuff on the Donald Trump supporter forums about them pulling the morning show. Morning Joe, rather. Okay. Well, let me read you. I don't know if this I think that when you're reading these sorts of things on Twitter, you know, they might be fake, but there are going to be people that are going to be like this. So, graduated in 2012 with a degree in women's studies. I cried in 2016 when Trump got elected. I lost touch with the Democrats somewhere around the Me Too movement and discovered entrepreneurship. I updated my voter registration in 2018 and didn't tell anyone. I told myself I was a single-issue voting centrist. The last 6 to 12 months, I believed I was going to abstain from voting in the upcoming election because the options are equally terrible. But watching Trump survive an assassination attempt and act like a total savage just shifted me into some strange, patriotic gear that my fancy feminism white men bad infected brain never showed me. Like, the dude took a bullet and stood up with blood dripping down his face and rallied a crowd while fist pumping and yelling fight. Sorry, but I'm voting for that. I'm saying it out loud. It feels so freeing. 2012 Stephanie would be so pissed, but that's okay because 2012 Stephanie didn't know shit. There are going to be people like that. Like, there are people that are prone to that line of thinking. I don't think that it's irrational at all, but they are going to. Like, America likes winners, and Donald Trump looks like a winner right now. You know? Some people pushing for Ben Carson to be the vice president. I'm really interested to find out who Trump's running mate is gonna be. I want to know who the running mate will be. We'll know before the end of the week, right? But it's killing me. It's killing me. You want JD Vance? You know, I'm embarrassed to admit this, but I did not really know a whole lot about who he was until like last week when I saw the proposals. It does sound to me like Vance is the most likely one to get it, because he's the most staunchly MAGA conservative that hasn't done something extra stupid. I'm sure that there's probably all sorts of controversies around him, but he, at the moment, enjoys pretty wide support amongst Republicans. So, but there's also John Burgum. This also seems like an interesting pick, because he was kind of like, in the debates, he knew what he was talking about. He sounded very independently minded. So he would also be a very interesting pick. I would kind of like that, as that would be a pick that would be more like to help temper Trump, right? But that would also be, I don't know, because that would be playing the same kind of a role that Vice President Pence played. And Donald Trump maybe doesn't want that. So maybe he does pick Vance. Oh, good morning, D. How have you been? So I'm getting a lot of clicking here. Is it from the ES? Oh, wow. This is a 300 lot. Because weren't we 225? That's interesting. And at this time of day, too. Where is it? It's really far away, though. It's not this one right here. It says it's 14 away, but 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. I don't see anything there at that spot. Oh, I should just look at 56.99. Oh, you know what? I don't know. I have it on you. That's a little weird. So as they've approached this 56.99, I'm seeing some stacking. So at first there was only that one big lot at 56.99, but now I'm seeing a lot stacked. If I didn't have things consolidated, I would maybe have a little bit better of a view of it at the moment. But I'm seeing a lot of lots stack and pull. It's like down in here where I'm seeing. Oh, I see what it is. I shouldn't be saying 1, 2, 3, 4. I should be saying 4, 8, 12. Yeah, so they're right there. Well, I wonder if that's going to be something that flips them around or not. The volume so far today has been pretty steadily long, but you're definitely getting some absorption and some change in here. I don't know of anything that would prompt that flow, but it is interesting to note. So let's just keep an eye on it. What did Bill Maher say about this? Whoever did this, the shooter has done so much damage to the left. The left has lost a lot of moral high ground in the "you're the violent people" debate, and the liberals don't shoot people. Liberals don't solve it that way. He's so right. But it was not maybe necessarily a liberal, so I don't know. overall, I still think that they've lost a lot in this debate because there was so many liberals cheering it, right? Oh, so I'm going to take a quick break here, all right? I wanted to check on the toddlers to see if we're going to get them up on time today or not, but I'm going to let them sleep in another hour. At 9 o'clock, I'm getting them up. So it's actually kind of a little funny here because I've been spending the last, I think, 30 minutes or so kind of like furiously browsing around everywhere to see if there's any more new information. And so far, we're not getting anything. So I would have almost certainly expected to see new significant headlines this morning, and I don't really feel like that we have. All the headlines that I've seen were things that were released last night. Saw an update on the man who was shot by accident, and they've gathered 3.7 million in a day to help the family. Oh yeah, the family will be okay. And I haven't heard anything about the other two people that got shot, but they are in stable condition. Let's see here. What's Joseph Wing saying on Twitter? A dollar devaluation is completely within the purview of the president, but it may not be bullish. Foreigners have substantial dollar asset holdings, and hedging is partial for bonds and limited equities. They may sell ahead to avoid currency losses. Is somebody talking about devaluing the dollar intentionally? Okay. Jim, I feel like the events of the weekend potentially changes the VP choice. Now he can focus on the best person for the job, or at least his preferred candidate, with less concern about choosing a vote getter. Is Jim Uriel. Wow, I don't know if any of his choices were really people that would bring in more votes, though. It's an interesting question. I really want to know who it is. FBI says Trump shooting may have been domestic terrorism. Oh, really? Okay. Yeah, think. Well, I don't know. Does it qualify as terrorism? I can't believe that's a real story. Okay, whatever. Do you think that if there was an assassination attempt on Joe Biden, that there would be like rioting? I don't think there would. If somebody was successfully assassinated, then maybe there'd be protesting and rioting on both sides. You say there's medium news at the top? Oh, in 30 minutes. Oh, the BOC Business Outlook survey. It doesn't even show up on my calendar over here. It does show up on Financial Juice. It does show up on Financial Juice. Wait, I'm so over this bullied in high school narrative, says one Reddit commenter. That's another awful take. Yeah, like, I'm not even gonna read the rest of that. I know where that's going. Book seems to be not pulling. Yeah, it's not a piece of news that I've ever seen. It's only probably only listed on there because it's Monday, but it's a Canadian number, so I'm still seeing pretty heavy activity in ES on the book here, though. Like, there are some big orders moving around. I just feel like there's going to be some sort of another bombshell story today. I just have to wait long enough, but it's not coming. Not coming right now. It'll be like right as soon as the stream is done, and then something will come across the wires. The markets will go crazy. What? Well, I guess we could read about Goldman's earnings. Huh? That sound interesting to you? After a mixed bag of results from JP Morgan on Friday and a downright ugly net interest margin report from Wells Fargo moments ago, Goldman reported second quarter profits which more than doubled to $3 billion as both fixed income and equity traders outpaced analyst estimates, and offset by a small miss in investment banking, while a rebounding capital markets business helped drive better than expected results across much of the company's Wall Street operations. Net income of just over $3 billion exceeded the $2.8 billion analysts were expecting, and was up 150% from $1.2 billion a year earlier, when it was plagued by losses in real estate investments and the consumer banking unit in the middle of an industry-wide deal-making slowdown. This translated to an 180% increase in earnings per share to $8.62, beating estimates of $8.34, and was thanks to revenue of $12.73 billion, which also beat estimates of $12.46 and was 17% higher than a year ago. Global banking and markets revenue up 15% year over year, fixed sales up 13%, and equity sales up 8%. The one downside was the latest miss in investment banking revenue, which, by the way, Goldman has never been top at. That's always been JP Morgan's advantage, which rose 27% year over year to $1.73 billion, missing estimates of $1.82. Merger advisory, blah, blah, blah. But this was less than the industry. Oh, this was less than the $785 million that JP Morgan reported last week. According to Bloomberg, Goldman tends to lead the industry in that business and rarely falls behind its rival. That is in what? Merger advisory fees. Okay. As more businesses are on the prowl for deals, the approaching U.S. elections could further delay a return to the pace of growth in the merger business seen in recent years. The business is especially important for Goldman because the firm has tried to showcase its strong investment bank and growing asset management business after abandoning an expansion into consumer banking. I'm kind of a little bit disappointed on the abandoning consumer banking bit, but okay. Taking a further look at the results, Goldman said the following: FIC reflected higher net revenues and intermediation and significantly higher net revenues in financing. Equities, I don't know if any of this means anything to any of you guys. Meanwhile, revenue in asset and wealth management, a key division Goldman is relying on to diversify its revenue stream increased 27%. Management fees climbed 8% as the bank seeks to shift growth to those fees instead of windfalls from balance sheet investments. Okay. Bank's total assets under supervision rose to $2.934 trillion from $2.714 trillion a year ago, driven by a jump in assets across the board, including alternative investments, equity, and fixed income. Some other numbers: total loans were unchanged. Net interest income increased 33%, and a shift towards non-interest banking liabilities, i.e. the end of paying interest on deposits. This is a long story. While Goldman's revenue improved notably, it is worth noting that the bank's $282 million provision for credit losses dropped sharply from a number that last year was more than twice as high at $615 million, and it was also down from last quarter's $318 million. This is curious as it comes at a time when JP Morgan saw its own reserve build surge to the highest since the bank collapsed in quarter one of 2023. According to Bloomberg, the main culprit is credit card portfolio and its net charge-offs. That's a simple and important story. The picture was foggier last year when there were net provisions related to the credit card and point-of-sale loan portfolios driven by net charge-offs and growth, and wholesale loans driven by impairments, partially offset by reserve reduction related to the repayment of a term deposit with First Republic Bank. In any case, the rebound in mergers and acquisitions and debt deals has helped drive Goldman's shares up by a quarter this year, outperforming the 13% rise in the KBW Bank Index and the 18% advance in the S&P 500 over the same period. Yes, that's fine. Despite the modest miss, the continued recovery in investment banking will help Goldman draw a line under a fraught 12 months in which Chief Executive David Solomon's management of the bank came under fire. We are pleased with our solid second quarter results and our overall performance in the first half of the year, reflecting strong year-on-year growth in both global banking and markets and asset and wealth management, Solomon said in a statement. Last month, in a surprise move, the bank tapped John Mahoney, a financial services banker who has been with the firm since 1987, to oversee firm-wide strategy. That's a departure from recent years when Goldman had been tapping younger, faster-rising executives destined for bigger jobs at the firm for a similar role. The firm is also returning to a merger banker for a strategy role at a time when it has preached caution about the need for acquisitions to grow, especially after pursuing multiple deals to build out a retail banking business that flopped. Goldman has instead tried to pair its focus to expanding its investment bank and money management business to achieve its mid-teens return on equity target. It fell short of that mark in the second quarter, notching 10.9%. Goldman said that it raised its biggest war chest yet for private credit wagers. The firm closed its latest iteration of its direct funding fund, of which, along with separately managed accounts for the same strategy, amounted to $21 billion. The bank also cinched $43 billion mandate to invest pension fund assets of parcel delivery company UPS, one of the largest deals of its kind. Commenting on the results, Bloomberg's Sudar Natarajan writes that both fixed income and equity traders outpaced analyst estimates, while rebounding capital markets business helped drive better than expected results across much of the company's Wall Street operations. Still, in a surprise reversal, the company pocketed less in fees from arranging mergers than JP Morgan. Following a knee-jerk move higher, the stock slumped to session lows before stabilizing, largely unchanged. Goldman shares advanced 24% this year, propelling the stock to an all-time high of $479.88 on Friday. Okay. Well, that was a long story, but, I read that all, and we still got 20 minutes left. 20 minutes to go. Let's see, your treasury is still kind of falling down. Whether they're right in the middle between the buyer and seller's cost basis, though. So, very curious. So, actually, that's kind of funny. Oh, I wish I'd noticed that earlier. Here we have, they came literally to the tick. And now back to the middle point. Huh. Well, if it's a Monday and we're not really expecting to anything too crazy, that would kind of make it a good spot to look for a reversal. Expecting mean reversion. Whoa, 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 whoa. Trump classified documents case dismissed. A judge finds the special counsel appointment unconstitutional? What? I'm going what? Because I did not expect that to be a story this morning. Oh, this came out a while ago, I think. 40 minutes ago. Judge Cannon has dismissed the Trump documents case citing violation of appointments clause. The special counsel's position effectively asserts that important legislative authority, transferring it to the head of department and in the process threatening the structural liberty inherent in the separation of powers, Cannon wrote in her decision. He can be appointed and confirmed through the default method prescribed in the Appointments Clause, as Congress has directed for the United States attorneys throughout American history. Dismissal of this action is the only appropriate solution for the Appointments Clause violation. The ruling comes after Judge Cannon had indefinitely postponed the trial and following a May hearing in which Trump and co-defendant Walt Nauta argued that the Justice Department's special counsel's office decision to prosecute the valet was both selective and vindictive. The ruling marks another blockbuster legal victory for Trump. Wow. According to Reuters, prosecutors are likely to appeal the ruling, As courts in other cases have repeatedly upheld the ability of the Department of Justice to appoint special counsels for politically sensitive investigations. That is going to be interesting. And then it goes on to talk about how Clarence Thomas questioned the constitutionality of Smith's appointment in one of his things. So I'm sure that they will appeal it, but it kind of sounds like that if it went to the Supreme Court, that the Supreme Court would also say that, hey, you can't just appoint anybody. That you have to go through, they have to be appointed by, no, they have to be confirmed by Congress and all that. Interesting. Yeah. Headline on Zero Hedge inflation. This is a premium article. Inflation not Trump driving U.S. yield curve steepening, and there's more to come. Market chatter is abuzz with the idea that a Trump trade is behind the dynamic, but we are witness to is a bull steepening rather than a bear steepening. That's true. Overall, I would say it's a bull steepening, at least. Right? We're moving up. Yield curve is moving up. That's a bull steepener. Which is really kind of, I think, indicative of like, we're concerned about weak growth, but that we may still have to keep rates high. Apparently, Peter Navarro will be addressing the convention only hours after being released from prison. That'll be interesting. That's just a nice old man whose jailing was completely unjustified. Chop suey, what do you mean by that, Octavius? Just it's turned choppy? Well, ES keeps moving higher, though. The treasury, though, is definitely like... ew. Looks like they're kind of bouncing back up, but I wouldn't read too much into it. It looks like it's just in the middle of the range. Oh, here's this same thing. FBI is claiming they cannot get into the shooter's cell phone. I find it suspicious. The FBI can't get into your cell phone? What? So here's a thought on the whole thing about Democrats trying to push Biden off of the ticket. Can you win? Like, is there anybody that the Democrats could push that would win? Well, I think that we already kind of have explored that question and said, no, probably not. At this point, is it better to just let Biden run and fail rather than waste another potentially good politician trying to, you know, on a mission that is doomed to fail? The assassination attempt may be changing that calculus. Before, it was kind of like one of the top things on voters' minds will be how they were lied to, and the Democrat Party kind of has to show that they're taking that seriously and trying to regain voters' trust. But if voters don't care about that anymore and are more concerned about this is, you know, they're, let's not say more concerned, but their minds are thinking more about the assassination attempt, then doing all that kind of wouldn't matter. You don't use ATAS? No. You know, it's not a very popular platform, to be honest with you. I've only come across a small handful of people that use ATAS. It's not a bad platform, but I think one of the advantages for ATAS would be the programming aspect of it with order flow, and NinjaTrader is better for the programming side of it. So like, in Ninja, is there a free version for Bitcoin? So I'm gonna say technically, yes, maybe. I haven't tried it for that, but I think so. So there is a free version of NinjaTrader that essentially you cannot submit trades through. Like, you can use it for charts and all of that, but you just can't submit orders. And I think that that's primarily set up so that you can do like demo accounts, right? Like you go to the NinjaTrader brokerage and get a free 2-week trial or whatever, and then you install the free version, right? But there is also built into it the ability to connect it to Coinbase, I believe it is. And so I would assume that the newest free version would be able to still be able to connect to Coinbase. But it would only give you the charts and the DOM, you know, like, I don't know. And it was also like, I don't know if all of the order flow features would work with that data connection or not. Have to test it. But try it out and tell me what happens. Yeah, if that works, so if the free version works with Coinbase and Coinbase works with the order flow indicators, then I would say yes, that my cost basis indicator will work on it. And you can try my cost basis indicator out for a free 2-week trial. And if you've already used up your 2-week trial, you just email me and I'll reset it for you so you can try it. I think it's funny when it's kind of go through a lull and then like a bunch of activity picks up towards the end of the stream. But it is time for me to get going. So I will see you guys tomorrow. We'll talk about Trump's vice president pick. In the meantime, stay excellent, team.